this live request art tutorial, and we're going to go over Lord of the Rings characters part 2 today. So let's just go through this video, and you can see what we did last time, which was adding color and then focusing on light and shade. And then I'm just going to speed that up a bit, and we added lava and drama, and then also we had the wonderful Gollum, which we all love and hate, and we added even more drama with putting on his little strands of hair, and then of course the big troublemaker Sauron with his ring. And this time we were just keeping the drama, the light, very, very simple, so everyone can have a go. Just drawing, having a go, that is what this is all about. So Lord of the Rings characters, and we're now going to focus on one of my favorites, Aragorn. And I'm going to teach you a little bit about oil painting. We're using an iPad, of course, but I don't want you to panic. I'm just going to talk you through certain techniques, and then you can have a go at home. But I'm going to talk about more the oils and canvas and things like that, because it's pretty difficult to cover oil painting when it's, how do I describe it? I'm obviously not holding a paintbrush, I'm doing it on an iPad. This app is called Procreate, and it has a wonderful array of brushes. I'll just show you there, and I'm using the acrylic brush. Now, seeing as some of you have watched the light effect, I'm going to just talk about that a little bit, but let's talk about oils, because I want everyone to understand that oils are not difficult. And it's one of the things that I teach. Hello. Ooh, okay. Oh, thank you, Dean, from London again. Thanks for joining. And please write in, and any ideas, suggestions, if you have questions about oil painting that I'm talking about, please write in. And oh, another Bob from Paris writing in. How is Paris doing? I think today they opened up after lockdown, which is amazing. I wish them the best of luck. Okay, so oil paints. I'll just draw and describe what I'm doing, but with oils, you really want to remember that there is a thing called a pigment, and I don't want to be patronizing, but that's basically color, and you add it to oil. So if you go back to the great masters like Michelangelo and Da Vinci, they would have had some assistant or an apprentice who would then mix the pigments. Sometimes things like yellow ochre, I think, came from urine, dried urine, and you added oil. And when the apprentice got the right consistency, and then the master would come along and paint that onto sort of a canvas or cotton, and that would have been prepped so that they don't want the oils to disintegrate the canvas, so that would have been prepped with a primer. And what you see when you go into the shops is, I'm just going to add a bit of white up on the forehead here, I don't know if that shows up. What you see in the shops is a white canvas, and then some people who are into oils, which I hope some of you are, will go, well, why do people prime it with a yellow kind of base color? And that is traditional. That is what oils, before they had white bleach, before then they would have this yellow color that would be the end result of putting a primer, a natural primer, onto canvas. So there's all sorts of little things there that you could find intimidating. But once you understand that's really all it is. I'm now adding a bit of darker color onto our lovely Aragon. Then you can focus on being less intimidated and just get on with the painting. Now, the reason why I talk about oils being super easy is that acrylic actually dries very fast, and you don't really want the paint to dry too quickly. And with oils, you can smush the paint around, so you can move it around, and that is what gives you that freedom to make mistakes. And as I always say in my art classes, you must allow for mistakes, and then you're always learning as you make your mistakes. If you're perfect right at the beginning, then you're not learning anything. You only learn from mistakes, which I do a lot of. Okay, so the amazing thing about this particular pen that I'm using, and it's a oil brush. Can you draw a Witch King? Yes, I would love to draw a Witch King for you. I will do that next. In this oil effect, or would you like it in a pencil sketch? Just let me know, Bob. Okay, so I'm putting the hair on. It's got quite a high forehead. So apparently this actor was always referred to by Peter Jackson in filming as Aragon, because he was so convincing and he was so similar to the actual character in the movie. I'm just going to put his moustache on now and his beard. That he was always referred to on set as Aragon rather than his real name. Did you also know, I'm sure there's some Lord of the Rings fans here, know that Peter Jackson obviously is a New Zealander, and there's a scene where, right at the beginning, where the hobbits are trying to get away from the orcs, and they are trying to get into an inn, and it's raining, and all these sort of rough-looking characters appear and terrify them just in the pub. And one of those dodgy characters is Peter Jackson doing a cameo role. Didn't know. Let me know how many people think they already knew that. Okay, so the beautiful thing about working with this sort of brush is that, can you see how free it is? And I'm kind of not restricted too much to fine lines, which is rather nice. Now I also use this sort of browny red pencil so that you can all imagine that I'm Michelangelo, and this is how he would have used this color pencil for a sketch for the Mona Lisa. So there's a history lesson for you. All his sketches, which were actually called cartoons, that was a word they used for the underdrawing, and he would have done a drawing in an orangey red charcoal, and then the apprentice would come along and fill in bits and just make life super easy for the master. Okay, so I'm just lightly putting in some detail onto the horse's armor. Beautiful armor here. Just making sure that there we go. You can see that. Okay, let me get back to that dark brown. Where is it? There we go. And I've got to do the Witch King. Isn't that a great name? I shall hurry up with this. I think we all know what the horse looks like. But there you go. A little oil painting lesson. Obviously you can get onto YouTube and learn through hundreds and hundreds of YouTube sites how to do oils. But my job is to teach you that it's not as difficult as you think. If you go into an art shop, you can always ask the people running the store. I didn't know this until I walked into an art shop one day and realized that the people in the shop are mostly experts on materials, and you can ask them anything and they will find the product for you. So that's actually one of the things that stopped me from doing oils for many years, was I was so intimidated. Okay, so I'm just putting this in. I'm going to do a long session today. We'll try to get as many requests in. Normally I kind of rush through, and I've had requests that I take a bit more time so that people can follow what I'm up to. Okay, or that they want to see the final artwork in action. Okay, so we're now going to imagine this is me putting oil brush on the canvas. Right, and of course, oops, we'll get rid of that mark. We want to do a bit of background as well. See how I'm adjusting it as well, because I feel like his shoulders should come out a bit more. Otherwise he looks a bit weedy, and he's certainly not weedy. His character was throughout this. Oh, I don't want that color. I want a bit more reddy color here. All the way through, he was fighting, such a hero, and yet he was actually brought up as a foster child by one of the elves, Eldron, and of course Arwen. We love her because she's a bit of a tomboy as well, a tomboy elf. She can ride a horse, being chased by those dead guys, the ones that are living, the 7 kings. You can always write in and correct me. So this is his sword. I would love to do a whole piece on swords. I'm just going to do that a bit bigger. There we go. Right, so we're pretty much there. Nice rough sketch, and you've learnt a little bit about oil painting, I hope. The next time you're allowed out, lockdown ends, go straight to the art shop. That's the rule. Okay, so I'm going to draw now the the Witch King, and this is one of my favorites, and the scene that I absolutely love. I'm going to use black for this one, and stick to the oil paintbrush. One of the things I love about this guy is that he's got this awesome dragon type thing. I'm not sure how you would describe him, because I don't think he just eats people, his beast. But so that's I love that sort of head that has no helmet, that has nobody inside. And I'm just gonna bring that down a bit so we can get the top. And then I'm thinking, I know it goes straight up, and then obviously we'll have some fun with light and shade. So when my favorite scene is when he's fighting with one of the king's daughters. So she's not supposed to be there, but she didn't want to miss the fight. And that's one of the big battles. I think my son has an absolute obsession with elephants, the giant elephants, and I might throw one of those into this dramatic picture. And she kills him, of course, which is why a lot of girls like Lord of the Rings. And I read somewhere that in Hollywood they figured out that if they had a woman as a lead, there would be more bums on seats in the cinemas. And that was because women also love action heroes. So Wonder Woman would have been an absolute success story, which it was. But I have boys, and I'm just going to shade in. I'm going to create drama this time, just using oils. I just want to get that a bit straighter. And then sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Oh yes, we love these movies as much as the guys. Maybe could do without so much violence. But then I'm hoping someone will request an orc, because I love orcs. I saw this wonderful photograph once when I was working on a project. It was a costume project. Hello, I would like to draw, oh, Frodo next, okay. And there was the actor who plays the orc, one of the big orcs, the one with the white paint on his face, and where he shows up and he's having this fight and he pulls the sword out of himself, and it doesn't look like it bothered him at all. So he was photographed with someone's kid backstage or in the crew's changing room, and this poor kid looked absolutely terrified. Okay, so this looks like, to me, what we would call a storyboard sketch. And if anyone's interested in how storyboard sketching looks like and how it works, this is pretty much how you would see a drawing of a storyboard. So his sword is on fire. So you'd have the team, oh hello, Be Like Bro 46. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Lovely to hear from you. Have you got a request? That's my big question. Now, I'm going to add some drama as well. In fact, I'm going to go, that's right. So a storyboard is where everyone sits around, the director and the artist sits there and draws sketches. And it's all been, like everything else, very high tech now. And I've done a storyboard where now you can actually add animation. So, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. So you're looking up some of the art channels. Yes, there's some very good artists. I think there's, is it Bob Ross? He's the most popular on YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to go back to painting. There you go, there's my paintbrush. I'm going to make that smaller. Okay, so we now have, oops, didn't like that. get back to, where's my wet acrylic? There we go. Okay, sorry folks. Alright, so we now got a bit of smoke going on. I'm going to draw Frodo. And I'm going to, he's probably got a big glove and then a cape. Let's put that in. So another thing you can do if you're really into art is actually do exactly what I've just done. And you kind of talk your way through the picture, and you can create your own films literally by doing a storyboard. So if you have ideas, I'm going to do a luminous just for fun. I'm just going to finish this off. If you have a concept for a film, you can actually, if you're slightly artistic, good at drawing, you can create your own storyboard and you can present that to a director. So there's no rules, you just gotta beat the competition, that's all. Okay, so there's my flames. I think we're there now. I hope you enjoyed our Witch King, and now we're going to, I'm just gonna, because I'm such a perfectionist, sorry about this, just want to do a little bit of highlights here. There we go. Just need a little bit of that. So that's all you have to do if you were going to do a storyboard. Shall we stick to the sort of storyboard drawing techniques, and we're going to do Frodo now. So here we go, next page. Right, Frodo. So why don't I just draw for you a quick example of, let me just do that. Okay, this is what a storyboard would look like. You just literally do a line like that, a line like that, and a line like that. Then you put all your text in here, blah, 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 blah. First scene, 1. And now I'm going to do Frodo for you. Okay, so we're going to take Frodo, and I'm just going to enlarge it, and then I'll go back. So there we have Frodo, and we're going to just give you a quick lesson on how to do a portrait. Okay, so a lot of artists do this. They go draw an egg and then sort of do this, cut it in half, do that, do that. So that is a very good idea. Okay, that all works. There we go. We've got a couple of sausages and some circles. All right, but if you wanted to draw someone slightly on the side, because we don't always want to draw everyone on an angle, straight on, then we would have to be a little bit more observant, because our heads go a little bit like this, and we'd have to do that. Okay, so now we're going to do Frodo, and of course that same old thing where his eyes are really the most powerful thing. I think his eyes are amazing. What a awesome character as well, to be lumbered with the terrible ring and not wanting the job, and then he saves Middle-earth from the terrible Sauron. So, okay, so we know he's got a tiny nose, so I should have had that line there. Let's imagine. There we go. And I haven't done his eyes too far apart. We're going to find out in a minute. But this is the other thing about portraiture, as that is actually one of the things that I've found most of my students have been terrified of are portraits. And if you think of it more like if you were able to copy a picture of Sauron, or let's say you're into painting a chair like Van Gogh, then it basically is copying. If you see it like that, you are simply copying something. And so really all you need to do is keep checking you're in the right place every time you do a drawing. So I didn't like this eye, and I'm moving it over a little bit. Okay, so that's really where you learn in portraiture. You've got to be confident enough to just keep changing, adjusting, and it will come right. But if you want to have it working right away, that won't happen. So, and again, like I always say, you need to get started. That's the magic. Once you do it, the next time it will be easier. The first step is always the hardest. So he's got quite a box-like jawline. I'm just going to draw lots of hair. And then of course those pointy ears. I have 2 boys at home, and I always refer to when their nails get too long, I refer to the hobbits. It's time to get, you got feet like hobbits. Okay, so I'm just going to take out some of those basic lines. Keep the ears in so we know exactly who we're talking about. He's a little bit cross-eyed, so again I'm going to adjust it, and this is what I meant about being brave, changing, because now you can see how it's changing. And I was saying that in one of my tutorials that I used to be a caricaturist at parties in my younger days, and people would stand there for 5 minutes while I drew their caricature, and I had to get the caricature absolutely spot on first time, because it was on a piece of paper with a permanent marker, and I used to have to just trust myself. I could tell that when a picture wasn't going well, but I just learnt over time that I just had to keep going, and right at the end, it would work. Okay. Alright, so now we've got a little bit of his face. I'm just going to adjust it a bit more. I can hear somebody who's just trying to write to me, but I can't see the note. So apologies if somebody's trying to write to me. So we've got those lovely eyes. I'm going to take out some of these marks. And he's got a straight, beautiful nose. Okay. And I think we're getting pretty close to what he should look like. And see, even with the pencil, I can make adjustments of things I wasn't quite sure about. I think his eyes go up a bit more. There we go, starting to look like him now. And then he always has that frown, doesn't he? So his eyebrows should go up rather than down. There he goes, a little bit worried. Flaring nostrils, not too big because this isn't a caricature. Tiny mouth. I still tend to go back to my old ways, caricaturing. I find that I sometimes draw a face and then the body's too small. Okay, so I think that's starting to look like him. Still, he has quite a box face. No offense. There we go. Do you see now how, if you're an expert like me, it still takes a while to get it right. But I haven't stopped. I'll keep going. And I'm doing this live, so I'm putting my reputation on the line. I'm just going to add a bit of shade. Oops. That was probably a little bit too... Okay. Right, so just get that. I'm just a bit worried his mouth probably needs to come over a little bit more. Let's get some shading under here. Okay, so let's imagine, let's put that elephant in there. I'm going to bring that back in to the storyboard. And there we go. So that's the opening scene, let's imagine. And we're now going to draw scene 2. And I'm going to enlarge that for you now. So should we draw an elephant? Hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm just trying to think. I'll just do the head. How does the elephant look? Okay, so we know it has that big carriage on top with that nasty man with lots of tattoos and piercings. And the elephant... And I'll probably put some people in this one so that we get a really good idea of how many, how huge these creatures are. And unlike friendly elephants, these are not your typical friendly elephant. I think they've got spikes even attached to their, how many have they got? They've got 5 horns. What are they called? Trunks. Trunks. Now, and they do this rather than, it's wonderful to think that you can take a creature from a fantasy fiction. Can you imagine what Peter Jackson, big fan of the book, suddenly realized he could do this trilogy, and he had the technology to create these monsters that he read in these amazing books. I'm just trying to think how the legs go. And I think they did all 3 movies in one go, so it probably took 3 years. The stress. But I did read somewhere that they made over $1 billion. Okay, so there we have our elephant. And then shall I do an orc? Okay, so I do love an orc. So we're going to draw a very nasty one. The one with the hand on his face, that white war paint hand print. And this was the one that scared that child in that photograph. I don't know about you, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, I don't like CGI as much when you have actors in makeup. I love it when they've got actors in makeup for these monsters. I just think it's more real, more terrifying. I don't know why that is, but absolutely love it. And so Snape was CGI in Star Wars, and he just wasn't that convincing to me. Was it Snape? No, Snook. Snoop. One of the baddies in Star Wars. And the other thing I love about this guy is that he has a ponytail, like Ariana Grande. So let's put in the ponytail. Very nice. I just imagine these orcs kind of getting up in the morning and tying up their hair. Or maybe they don't. Okay, so now we're going to... So I think we've pretty much got his face with his ponytail. And unlike Legolas, who I drew yesterday, who's all beautiful and, you know, this pointy ears, all the same things, but just, you know, just very elegant. Even his bow and arrow were elegant, but this guy, okay, he has a nasty bow and arrow. So this one's much more chunky and much more sort of, it looks more like it's made of metal rather than wood. There's a shop, I'm based in Johannesburg, and there's a shop in the mall where you can buy all this stuff. So I'm just trying to think of the, you know, won't have a nice arrowhead. So let's do the arrowhead. Yeah, so every time I try to walk past that shop with my boys, they want to stop in there. And I'm just trying to think of the muscles. And I'm doing a bit of perspective here. So this will be, I might just leave that as, oops, it's not going down. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, so I'm just trying to do his shoulder. I'm trying to do a bit of perspective there. There we go. And then his ponytail flicking in the wind. And then we've got the nasty arm holding out the, there we go. All right, so it's very rough, but you kind of get the idea that he's going to, pointing the arrow. I'm actually thinking I've probably done this wrong. I'm going to change it to the other way around. Okay, so it goes more like this. There we go, nasty. Ah, that's why it wasn't working. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our session. Just running through what we learnt. Like yesterday I was saying, it's much easier to learn from a subject that you love. So if you're an artist or a budding artist and you want to learn how to draw, or you want to learn how to do a storyboard, you can get all your ideas off comic strips, so you can learn anatomy, you can learn anything you want, and you want to be helping yourself by learning off subjects that you love. So if you love Lord of the Rings, this is great. And if you love orcs, they're very muscly, so get pictures off the internet and learn how to draw an orc. And you can learn about perspective, and you can learn about storyboards off the internet. This is a bit of a clue on how you can write a storyboard, and you're just pulling together lots of dramatic ideas. And it's just, have a notebook, they call it like a journal or an art book, a sketchbook. Pile it in as much as you like, and please send us your artwork to @quicktodraw.co.uk, and we have a gallery where people are sharing their artwork and talking about art and talking about fantasy fiction and gaming characters, and we'd love to see your work. So we'll see you next time, which is tomorrow around the same time. See you then. Bye.